Okay, everyone. So we did research. Okay, we created our graph, our sections, and how we're going to be attacking certain areas. We assigned which day we're going to be going to places. We prepared our presentation. We prepared our webinars. We prepared, what we're going to be able to bring in to present to them. We created our little treats that we're going to be bringing with us. We've learned about follow-ups, what we're going to be doing when we start following up people. We even talked about how to find out and discuss the different potential problems that they are facing so that we can kind of be ready to when we hear them say what are the problems that they're facing, so we know how we can create the solutions within our organization to provide those solutions, because that's what we do here. We are a problem solver. A patient needs home health, we are the solution. Patients having problem with their medications, if they go home, we're the solutions. They need a therapist, we are the solution. They need a caregiver, we're the solution, right? So in this video, what we're going to be talking about now is the walk-in scenario. This is the typical scenario that actually happens when we decide to actually walk in and try to get that appointment, try to get that meeting. So obviously, we talked about calling in advance to try to get these appointments, right? How to be able to create an appointment. So that is primarily our main important thing, is to get appointments. But also sometimes when we've done the whole meet and greet, done the whole appointment setup, the other facilities said no. So just because they said no when having an appointment, that does not mean that we don't still go in cold as well. Because typically, more than likely, they already forgot who we were when we made that initial phone call trying to get that appointment. So now we need to be able to try to show them and convince them that we're going to do everything that we can in our power to be able to show them that we love follow-up, we mean business, that if we show them that we're willing to commit ourselves to them, it is also going to translate to us wanting to commit to the patients that they refer to us. Okay, so the question is what do I bring in? What am I going to bring into these facilities? How do I walk in? So when you're going into these facilities, and if you've done this long enough, you're going to see other marketers out there. You're going to see a lot of medical sales rep out there. So you're going to see the typical medical sales rep that is walking in with a one of those business bags that has the wheelies on it, and that's because they're bringing some a lot of samples. You're not bringing samples, so you should either be walking in with your presentation folders, those handouts that you're going to give, the little treats, your tchotchkes, like your pens and those kind of things. You're going to bring those maybe. So you want to be able to maybe bring a book bag. One thing is, I've seen one marketer do this. He walked in with a backpack. Now, I love backpacks. On the weekends, I use backpacks. When I go out of town, I have a backpack. When I travel, I have a backpack. In my car, I have a backpack. But that's not a business thing to use. Backpacks are for people in Silicon Valley when it comes to business, but not when it comes to us marketing. So bring a nice bag. That is just guaranteed. Okay. Some of your companies out there have those bags that you give out to your workers that has your logo in it. I prefer that you don't use those, right? You're thinking, well, I'm trying to do branding. No, right now you're trying not to be able to show everything at this moment for them to say no right away. So that spells out marketer for a home care or home health agency. So, keep your bag just regular, okay? Next thing is, you don't want to overdo the cologne or the perfume. We don't want that to become a distraction. You smokers out there, my suggestion is, it's okay. I understand that you want to smoke. It relieves the stress. It's something that calms you down. It's a habit of yours that you don't want to kick yet, or you've been trying to get rid of it. But either or, if you're going to be talking to someone who is a non-smoker, even though you smoked maybe an hour ago, they can smell that. So you don't want that as an objection, okay? You don't want them to come up with an idea about you just because of your smoking, okay? So if you really want to do this good, you want to be able to keep things limited. So like I said, no bags with logos in it, no smoking, no overdoing a cologne, because these are just, just these small things within the first initiation of the meeting. Somebody can come up with their own conclusion and then say, I don't want to do business with this person. You want to limit those as much as possible. And I know you're going to say, well, Michael, this is who I am, this is what I do, they should respect that, so and so. At this moment, no, I don't believe so, that they should respect that, because you're trying to get their respect, not you trying to have them respect you. Okay. Next thing is your phone. Definitely, of course, you're in business, right? Your phone is your business. But here's the thing: you need to be able to make sure when you go into this meeting, you turn the phone, the ringer off, and also the vibe mode off as well. Because the last thing you want to do is somebody calling you and your phone is vibing while you're trying to do the presentation. It can be a distraction. Next thing, your iPad. I always have an iPad because when I do my presentations, even though if I'm giving them a handout, one of those how-to handouts, and I'm trying to explain that to them, I will give them the handout directly to print out for themselves, but I will use an iPad to do the presentation for those, and the reason for that is the color pops a little bit better. It just brings a nicer presentation for that particular moment. So, so I want to be able to create that suggestion for you guys as well. Now, when you walk into a facility, you're going to be greeted by the gatekeeper, the receptionist, the administrator assistant, or whatever you want to be able to put an assignment on them. So the gatekeeper is there to prevent you from being able to speak to the higher ups. That's what they're hired to train. They're pretty much the center, the guard, the tackle. If we start talking about football, for example, but that's what they're there for, to be able to block you from that and to be able to filter out who should actually speak to the people so that they don't lose time and they can concentrate on their job. So one thing is that we teach a lot of people when we are doing a one-on-one live training, and we also go out in the field with a lot of marketers. We've done that so many times with a lot of companies, is the walk-in approach that you're doing. So the walk-in approach that we teach people is that never ever, let's say for example, I'm sitting, I walk in and I see you directly right now. I'm not going to do a direct walk-in where I'm squared to you. Okay. The reason for that is I want you to think about someone or a scenario. If someone ever starts walking towards you in a squared position like this, what is the first thing that goes in your head? You don't know them, you never met them, and here you are walking. They are walking straight towards you. Okay, so there's that feeling inside of the fight or flight routine type of a setup. It's something that is instilled in us. It's something that is natural in us, the natural feeling. So you don't want to be able to do that. So one thing that we teach a lot of people is that when you walk in, right, you need to figure out right away where you're going straight towards, right? So if I see the moment I walk into a facility and I see the front desk, the person I need to be able to talk to right away is straightforward in front of me, I'm actually going to go in a sideline angle. So I'm going to go this way a little bit, then do an angle. And I'm not going to be face forward. I'm actually going to be more of an angle. And the reason for that is it's a lot less evasive. It's a lot less kind of scary. And these are fairly little things that is studied in psychology and body language. And there's a lot of information about these things and studies on how to be able to approach people and how to, kind of disengage their protectiveness or their fight or flight routines. This is something that we teach. If you don't want to follow it, that's perfectly fine. But I'm just trying to give you guys ideas and things that has worked for myself and the team that I lead, as well as people that we train. Okay, so let's say, for example, you walk in, and the way we handle the talk with them is that I've shared with you guys a quick technique when it comes to the phone, right? So when it comes to the phone, never ever use the full name of the person. Only use the first name and don't do a Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith. If the name is Janet, then I'll say, hi, I'm here to speak to Janet, please. Because remember, if you did your studies, even though you didn't get an appointment, you already know who you need to be able to be talking to in this facility. So with that said, you should be walking in and knowing the name of the person you need to deal with. So I would always say, hey, I need to speak to, hi, my name is Michael. I need to be able to speak to Janet. Can you give her a call for me? Or, hi, how are you? I need to speak to Janet, please. Or can you show me Janet's office? Or can you direct me to Janet's office? So there's always some kind of a command that's involved in there. Also, I am not in there to have the high-pitched voice and saying, hi, my name is Michael with ABC Home Health, and I'm here to be able to speak to Janet, please. You don't want to have that rapid tone. You want to slow it down a little bit. It just shows more command for you. And, I want you to try that. Try both ways. Try the slow routine, going for the first name only, and try going in there with the high-pitched, salesy voice. You want to, once again, remove any additional objection from them. That you don't want them to say, hey, instantly they figured out that you're a marketer, instantly you're in sales or you're a solicitor. That's the last thing that you want to be able to kind of have them feel, or like one of those inner hidden objections. Okay, so let's say, for example, that you actually was able to get them to talk to you. So like I said, one of the things is time. They may call them directly, or they may give you the phone to transfer them. Always say is like, listen, I just want to be able to speak to you for 30 seconds of your time. I know you're a busy person. I just want to be able to meet and greet you really fast. And if you don't mind, just 30 seconds of your time is all I need, and we can go from there. Right? And so that's the goal. Remember, when we do marketing, when we do cold walk-ins especially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to buy a 30-second block every single time. We're trying to get that 30 seconds to be able to do the greet. Then we want to be able to do the sharing. If we did our sales process correctly, be able to ask the immediate questions that we should ask, we can start gathering some basic information. Having an appointment is going to be better, but this is your cold walk-in, and you're trying to now get that presentation, whether you can get the presentation right there and then and continue on with follow-ups, or you're able to walk in and then set up a different time to be able to create the appointments. You guys have to understand that's why we have a full training with closing techniques, with our techniques on how to be able to handle the different levels of objections that you're going to be able to face, from the moment that you greet someone. The objections that they may have is time at this moment. Then you start moving on into the next phase, which is your questions and your presentation phase, and that they can give you the objection that we're already using a home health agency. And then you move on further, then they can say the physician is the one that's making the decision. There's so many objections that you guys are going to face out there, and what I want to be able to do is make sure that you guys are ready for all of those as much as possible. But let's say, for example, you finally, they said, sure, they'll meet with you for 30 seconds or for a minute or for 2 minutes, or they got 5 minutes at this moment, they will meet with you. Then the question is, you're going to have to wait for them to come pick you up, unless they can unless the front person's able to just say, hey, go down the hallway, their office is there. But if you have to wait for them to come grab you, the question next is, do you sit or do you stand in the meeting area or in the waiting area? My suggestion for you guys is to actually keep standing. Okay? That shows that, you respect them right away when they walk in, and you're already standing, and you're not trying to play this game of trying to get off the couch type of a setup. So stay standing, right? Because you don't want to take any more time from them. You want to be able to value their time, and for them to have to come straight to you and say, hi, are you Michael? Or, and then you have to actually still try to get up slowly, and you're playing this dance, the salsa dance kind of. If you're standing ready and they walk into those double doors and they see you and they say, hi, are you Michael? Then you say, yes. You can shake your hands right away and then continue on. When you're presenting, though, then it changes a little bit. You don't want to be standing when you're presenting, because when somebody's standing, when you're both standing, for example, and you're presenting, you're trying to find your discovery, find out what their problems are facing. You're trying to present your services. You're trying to demo yourself. If they're standing, they have a feeling that they can get away, right? It's that, and if you make a mistake that you start talking and presenting while both of you guys are standing, I actually pay attention to a lot of nonverbal language, right? The body language. If I start seeing they're looking at their watch, or if I'm starting to see that, their foot is actually facing the other way, because that's what we call the runner stance, actually. And these are in our advanced training when we do one-on-ones. But our goal is to be able to just get you guys out there, because if you use the basic techniques that we're going with this training just right here, and just by numbers alone, you're going to be able to start seeing an amazing increase in your referrals and your referral sources. Okay, and so that's why when you start watching our follow-up system, that is one of the most amazing things that you guys can actually do. It is the most important part when we start trying to create a relationships, is the follow-up. We actually spend a whole series just on showing you guys how to follow up correctly. We have another series where we actually show you what you need to be able to bring every time you visit, those little cool treats, right? Like from, my favorite, we call it Tiffany box. And then my other favorite is called the cupcake in a jar that I love making, actually. And so these are little things that you can actually make and come up together as a company, and it's very, very cheap. You don't want to spend $30 every time you visit a facility. That's gonna, take off your budget, your marketing budget. I would rather, like I said, spread that thing out and spend $5, but visit you 15 times. And that's going to cost me, like I said, around $75 instead of me just coming every time I visit and bring something expensive. So these are little techniques that you should actually be doing. So what they pretty much have this saying, closers sit, right? So the closer people will sit. If they can sit you down, then it's an easier way to close, because you're anchored, you're sitting down. And it's a lot easier to have your full attention, rather than when somebody's standing up, they can pivot left and right a lot easier. So that's what you guys want to be able to do, is to be able to have that meeting. And once you already have that meeting, that's where you start going through the variety of different things. You're ready with the answers that you have, because you kind of figured what are the major problems that they're facing. But still, you want to be able to custom your whole presentation and your demo according to what you hear from them. So if you ever watch our sales process training on how to be able to create a sales process, we actually covered a lot of information in there, how to be able to go from the beginning all the way to the end. But when it comes to the presenting phase, the first part is to be able to start asking the questions that's going to generate the answers. One question that we like to ask is this: what made you make a decision to actually use the agency you have right now? Because typically most people that we talk to, just like you, and that love our service, when we walk in for the first time, we know that they're actually using another agency. Okay, what made you make that decision? The reason that question is asked is because they're actually going to tell you what is important to them to make that decision, to make that decision to use that agency. Okay, so those are one of those discovery questions that you should be able to know and learn to ask. And we can go further with that as we go through our presentation phases, our presentation training programs. So once you have that appointment, the goal is to just go ahead and keep on going on. Now, if you ever get a different setup where you're trying to go ahead and meet with the social worker, but then all of a sudden they're not there, but they send the director of nursing, then you have to use the other techniques of other questioning, So you then ask the question, if you don't mind me asking, ma'am, are you the one that makes a decision when a patient has to go home and be referred to a home health agency, a home care company, or is this something that is done as a team, right? The reason why I ask that, I'm not going to say, hey, I know you're not the decision maker, who really is a decision maker. I'm saying as a team. So by me saying that, then they'll bring up the potential people that should be talked to. Great. So other than yourself, who else should I have in this meeting to be able to maximize and to be able to, not waste your time fully, because I want to be able to value what you do. So you always want to be able to ask the questions and figure out what you're going to find out. Like I've said in the previous sets of videos, where we talked about who really is the person in charge when it comes to these facilities, it's going to be the discharge planner, really. Some facilities, they want you to actually pay a fee to have access to a particular software, because that's how they refer the patient's information. Imagine if you have to pay $500 for every potential referral facility, that's going to cost a lot. And the truth is, most of the time you're not getting any referrals. So I want you guys to pay attention that, if you have facilities that are trying to make you do that, just move on to the next one. Because like I said, if somebody's going to ask you to pay $500 to get access to a software, my mindset is that $500 I can actually distribute that among 10 other facilities that I can try to target. Because this is very important that you guys handle this, right? When you're marketing, you don't want to spend too much money on your budget as well, because you're in the beginning phases of things, right? So you have to be able to analyze and figure out, how much really do you want to spend per attempt on every facility. So I hope this particular video on regard to a typical walk-in scenario that you're going to face helps you guys out. We definitely want to be able to come to your facility, come to your city, and to be able to show you guys more directly one-on-one what you're going to be facing and how to be able to handle it. But these video series that we're offering to you guys right now will literally help you guys get into the first phase of doing things. Typically, most agencies out there, most marketers out there, unfortunately, we're not given scenarios and how to be able to market their company correctly. And our goal is to be able to make things easier. The reason why I'm sharing these information is because I faced these problems myself and kind of put together something that helped me increase the rate of my referrals and finding more referral sources out there. So keep on watching our videos. I hope that this has helped you guys. If there's any other questions, always connect with us. We're glad to hear from you.